Hi, my name is Rose Spinelli, and in this workshop we're going to be discussing how to create an effective social media strategy for your crowdfunding campaign. Obviously, the most important parts of any successful crowdfunding campaign is reaching as many people as possible who will give you money. What's surprising, though, is how many people only focus on the funding part. I know it's about money, and it even has the word fun in it, but still, far too many new crowdfunders spend very little time and energy building their crowd. Even if you think you have a big, robust network, remember, it's not just about numbers. It's about engagement. Only engaged followers will take the next step to actually contribute. So unless you're ahead of the curve, most people don't have a wide network. So you'll first need to broaden it through authentic engagement and then rally them around your campaign. So here we'll answer the question, how do I build out my social network? The answer is this: in bite-sized chunks. Now keep in mind, today is an overview to get you started. Social media networking should be ongoing even after the life of your campaign because crowdfunding is about building connections. And just like you wouldn't drop your friend after they'd helped you out of a financial bind, you should consider your backers a part of the ongoing community that helped you succeed. So what is social media strategy? Strategy versus tactics. Okay, people tend to get strategy and tactics mixed up. Strategy is the high-level plan or method that is used to achieve a goal, whether it's a funded campaign or going to war. The tactics are the specific actions or tasks you take to get closer to achieving that goal. Our focus is the process of pulling your social media strategy together. That means how you'll engage with the most useful social media platforms out there in order to achieve your goal. Now, most useful may not necessarily mean the biggest ones, although most campaign strategies will definitely include the big boys like Facebook and Twitter. And as this graph shows, the number of worldwide social network users will climb to 1.73 billion this year, meaning that almost 1 in 4 people on the planet will regularly use Facebook and Twitter or any of the many channels available. We're focused on creating a social media strategy using these platforms because they're free, they're powerful, and they're accessible to anyone. Now, you probably won't have a staff to start and build audiences across many platforms. So in addition to Facebook and Twitter, your social strategy may include building a following of 1 or 2 of any number of popular platforms. The key to choosing is simple. You'll want to use the platforms that your target audience is using. If your project has a female focus, you'll definitely want to use Pinterest, since according to a recent Pew Research survey, 25% of women who use the internet also use Pinterest. That's 36 million people. Now, don't dismiss LinkedIn, which is great for finding like-minded groups. And Google Plus, not long ago, overtook Twitter as the second most popular social network in the US. But trends change, so mostly the platforms you use should be driven by what platforms your target audience frequents. This is very important, however. Don't spread yourself too thin. So when do you start building or expanding your crowd? This one is easy to answer. The time to start building your crowd is yesterday. I know. But the simple truth is that building an audience organically, meaning without paying someone else to build or buy it for you, which is a separate topic, typically takes time and sweat. Whatever you do, don't wait until your crowdfunding campaign is getting ready to go live. Too many people have done that and they've failed. And I can't emphasize enough that the time and work you put in now will later prove to be among the most important things you can do to help ensure you get the funding that you're going after. How to get started creating your social media strategy? Well, any good strategy starts by asking yourself some straightforward questions. What do you want to achieve? What's your goal? Now, the temptation is to answer to raise X amount of dollars. But your funding goal should be just one part of your goal. You are probably raising money through crowdfunding for your startup to develop or launch a product or for a creative project. So that's part of your goal too, to achieve success in whatever your business or organizational goal is. But since crowdfunding is about the crowd, you need to figure out what your goal is for your backers. What will your campaign give your backers? That doesn't just mean perks, but also the sense of belonging to or contributing to or helping to achieve something big, meaningful, innovative, clever, entertaining, or truly unique. Now, this is an important part of storytelling, which we'll cover in that workshop. So, start by answering these questions. What are your top 3 to 5 goals for your crowdfunding campaign? These should be a mix of hard goals, like raising a specific amount of money, and soft goals, like raise awareness about a certain problem, get more people passionate about the new product. The latter may be harder to measure, and you do want to track and measure how you're doing, and adjust your campaign as you go if you need to. But trust me, less tangible metrics are just as important because it's the start of building a relationship with your backers. So, who is your audience? Try to be as specific as possible without narrowing the field too much. Consider whether your audience is using social media, though practically everyone is at this point, and if so, which platforms they're likely to be using on their own. So, what specifically do you want your audience to do? Sure, you want them to give you money, but you also really need them to share your campaign with others, ideally with a comment on Facebook or a tweet or some other kind of shout out. If people can't give money but love your idea, make sure your campaign makes it very easy for them to spread the love, even if they can't donate. Now, that means including a call to action. Please share this. Tell us what you think. We can really use your input. In fact, you should do this on everything you put out there on your social media platforms. It may seem a bit aggressive, but the truth is you've got to nicely direct people because most won't take the next step on their own. And you don't broadcast your request relentlessly. So you ask them nicely and you don't spam them. What would get your audience to respond? Okay, this one is a biggie, since you're trying to get inside the heads of not just your current network of family and friends and business associates and neighbors, but also beyond these people. The people you don't know, who don't know you or your campaign. How do you get them to care? Well, depending on the projects, perks might be at the heart of it. But you'll also want to think about the words you use to excite someone. So the messaging you use when you post on Facebook and Google Plus and what you tweet will hopefully change during the life of your campaign. Besides, your campaign experience ebbs and flows. So done right, you'll be reaching different audiences between the beginning, the middle, and the end. Be sure to thank by name as many of the people who are early backers and therefore potential evangelists of your campaign as you can. And be sure to tag them on Facebook. And definitely thank anyone who shares your campaign with their network because social influence goes a long way and you want to encourage people to continue using it on your behalf. Before your campaign is live, you can post coming soon content to build excitement and give people an idea of what's to come. You can even post an infographic about the size of a problem your campaign hopes to tackle and perhaps solve. You can check my resources for template options on that. This gives them context for your campaign and will jog their memory when it goes live. It's the start of the storytelling piece of the puzzle, which we'll go into more detail in that workshop. What do you want to happen after your campaign is over? Okay, consider specific ways you'll keep giving backers the TLC once this campaign is finished. Crowdfunders who focus only on getting funded and don't consider how they'll keep in touch with their backers beyond perk fulfillment, they've got it wrong. Like any other relationship you develop, you must keep these powerful relationships alive. How does your crowdfunding campaign fit into your broader marketing strategy? The answer is that the effort you put into this campaign should complement and enhance other types of outreach you're doing. A common mistake among crowdfunders is considering their campaign in isolation. We'll raise the money this one time for this one project or goal, and then we're done. But the effort you put into this campaign should have a much longer shelf life. Obviously, if you already have, say, a Facebook and Twitter brand marketing strategy that's working well for you, leveraging that audience for your crowdfunding campaign will be hugely easier to do. And you'll have a leg up over those without any audience or with a small one. Let's break down the platforms. Currently, over 1.1 billion monthly active users are on Facebook. With such a vast reach, it's unlikely that your social media strategy won't include Facebook. And you may want to focus primarily or even solely on Facebook if that's where your audience hangs out. Facebook's mobile users are up hugely to 751 million. So be sure that the execution of your social strategy for your campaign looks great on mobile devices across all platforms you're using as well. And if you've never created a brand page before, go to the Facebook's help section. There's a subsection called Growing Your Audience that discusses best practices for posting. Twitter's a real-time information microblogging network, and at last count, users hovered around 550 million. I won't even venture quantifying the number of registered users it has to date because numbers increase constantly. Now, there's an art to using those 140 characters wisely, though that would require a class in itself. But there's no shortage of information about best practices. To get started using Twitter for business, check out Twitter's Basics section, which covers things like hashtags, establishing your brand personality, how to tweet well, and measuring how well you're doing on Twitter. The platform also has special information for small organizations and nonprofits. Because Twitter has such a large reach, like Facebook, it should probably be part of your strategy to gain more followers and increase awareness of and contributions to your crowdfunding campaign. And if you're wondering if the people you're trying to reach use the social platforms you're thinking of targeting, make sure to check out the excellent report from the Pew Internet and American Life Project in the resource section. It has some terrific insights. Now, figures vary when it comes to the growth in numbers of users on Google+, which launched in 2011. But in January of 2013, Forbes.com reported that Google+ surpassed Twitter as the second largest social media platform. That means that if you believe the people you're trying to reach are on Google+, you should consider including the platform, as well as YouTube, which Google owns, in your strategy as well. With over 225 million users worldwide, LinkedIn is clearly a powerhouse. Your strongest networks, those that are specialized to your industry or profession, are likely to be on this site. And with nearly 2/3 of LinkedIn members located outside the US, this platform may be a particular boon to those with a globally focused campaign. And given that LinkedIn is a professional networking site, it's definitely going to be more useful in making your professional network aware of your campaign without explicitly asking for contributions. Pinterest and Instagram. Though each of these platforms is a powerhouse in its own right, in order to keep this information succinct, we're lumping them together since they're both highly visual platforms. Pinterest allows you to pin and share photos and images on boards, while Instagram features photos and short video. So if your campaign is very visually driven, you may want to consider one or both of these. Tumblr. The Pew report that I mentioned found that 6% of web users use Tumblr, which was recently bought by Yahoo. So it remains to be seen if the service will change in some way, including being integrated with Yahoo, which has a very large user base. But if you're targeting a very young audience for your campaign, it may be worth trying Tumblr to reach them because 13% of those in the 18 to 29 age range are blogging on Tumblr. Lastly, it's worth mentioning something pretty obvious, but still very, very important. Social is not limited to online. So don't forget to consider and to cultivate opportunities you have to reach out in person at events, by phone, by text, or by email to people you know so that you can cast the widest possible net. This is, of course, something that we're going to discuss in greater detail in the overall strategy workshop. And also make sure to check out some of the helpful resources that I've provided too.